Welcome back to Picks from the Sticks. We are here for another horse racing episode. We're a little early this time. We're doing it on a Thursday, but still happy to be here. How you doing, Brent?
Doing good. Yeah, we both have some travel plans this weekend, so figured we might as well get this out early. And I'm excited about this weekend, the last weekend at Churchill for this spring meet, the shortened spring meet that didn't include the Derby, but still a lot of good races. And this is probably the best weekend Churchill has to offer from this first meet of the year.
Yeah, coming off the heels of the Belmont, which was pretty exciting, but no terrible surprises with Tis the Law. Did you watch the Belmont?
Oh, yeah, I was watching that. Of course, we had Tis the Law in our pick five. I also like Dr. Post, who he was my second choice and he ran second. Unfortunately, I tried to get a little too fancy and go with the trifecta.
Oh
I
no!
added I added Pneumatic in the third spot, and Pneumatic
Oh
was holding third for a while, but Max Player came up, nabbed
yeah,
me in the trifecta. But I did hit that pick five, pick three as well. Just couldn't get the trifecta for
yeah.
the
We
hurt ending.
we put together that pick five. It hit. We netted some money. We are up for this season so far that we've been picking. A little different since we're starting on Thursday. We didn't have a ton of time to do some prep, so you will kind of get to see how we open up a program for the first time and kind of look through it going earlier on a Thursday. So a little bit different format. I won't ramble as much, but we have some graded stakes at Belmont and Churchill this weekend that are pretty loaded. So we will do the late pick four at Belmont, ending with a pretty good grade one, and we will do the late pick four at Churchill, which is loaded for their last weekend. Sound good, Brett?
That sounds great. Yeah, those are the two tracks you want to be at this weekend. They're going to be running simultaneously. It's going to be tough if you're
Yeah, that's
watching
gonna
the
be
races,
wild.
flipping back and forth from each track. But that means there's no wait time. You better have your bets ready, and that's why you need to be watching this so you have a good idea going into Saturday's weekend.
Yes, sir. All right, so we are going to start up at Belmont with the pick four there. It starts with race 7. It will go off around 4:30 Eastern time. It starts with a grade 3, the Vagrancy Stakes. It is for 3-year-olds and up, fillies and mares, 6.5 furlongs on dirt. On dirt. The fields for this pick four are kind of small. It's 7, 7, 8, and 4. Which if you literally take every horse, I think it's only like a $1,500 ticket. So kind of small fields at Belmont this weekend. But we're still going to make some picks on it. Brent, for this one, I think the 6 is a no-go, and maybe the 7 as well. Your two of your longest shots, and the 4 potentially. Really looking at, I think, a 4-horse race between the 1, 2, 3, and 5. Do you see that race? It's kind of a even field, I think. I don't think there's really any clear favorites in this one.
Yeah, I think when you talk about the favorite, you have to talk about the number five, Come Dancing. But she's off of two really poor performances.
Yeah.
She So these are girl horses sprinting on dirt, a
Hmm.
division I'm not that familiar with, but Come Dancing is definitely one of the horses that was owning this division last year.
She had a great 2019.
Yeah, she won a grade one at 7 furlongs, won a grade two at 6.5 furlongs, going off as better than even money favorite. Then in the Breeders' Cup Filly and Mare Sprint, the top race for all these horses, she was the second pick right behind Kofefi. And Kofefi ran, and unfortunately, Come Dancing did not run that day on Breeders' Cup Day, had a
Yep.
poor performance. Then she came back and just in a weird spot for me. I think that the Apple Blossom is an easy throw out. She's trying to run over a mile and the 16th. That's not her game.
No.
She, I bet that race, and I did not have Come Dancing anywhere because it's just not her kind of race. Coming back in this one, I think you can say, okay, the Breeders' Cup maybe is just a step above what she can do,
Sure.
but and then she ran a longer distance for some reason unbeknownst to me. But now she's back at 6.5 furlongs. Come Dancing has to be your favorite, but coming off of two races in a row where she hasn't hit the board, definitely beatable. I think there's other horses you can use. The next horse that I like would be the number one, Royal Charlotte.
Definitely. That was my next pick.
Yeah, Royal Charlotte is a Chad Brown, trained by Chad Brown, who usually does better on the turf than on the dirt. But it's Irad Ortiz on the jockey, one of my favorite jockeys,
Yep.
and she's coming off her best race of her career. and just got beat by Honey I'm Good in her last race, beat Pacific Gale. She ran well recently, so I think Royal Charlotte would be the next one I'm looking at. What do you think about the other ones, the 2 and the 3, Mother Mother and Shalone, also quality horses, but I
Yeah,
think they may be a step below these other 2.
yeah. Mother ran fourth at in that race that Royal Charlotte was in last. Royal Charlotte's first race out in 2020. She ran fourth, went 5 wide on the first turn. It looks like, and 6 wide at the eighth pole. So went pretty wide in that one. Only they looked like they were bunched together there. Fourth by only 3 lengths, and then the 7 squeaked in there as well. So up there with the rest of the group, I'd be tough to leave off the 2. The 3 they've got at morning line 5-2. Hasn't run with any of these other horses, but you see the company in that last race out at Keeneland, that Thoroughbred Club of America Stakes. That is some loaded company there with Spice Perfection and Mia Mischief. You see there
Yeah,
that she lost to.
it was a great race. My question with Shalone is just off a long,
A
long
long
layoff, hasn't
layoff.
run
That's
since
the only
October.
concern.
So I think that even though she is a quality horse, and even last year she had a good season,
Hmm.
but only won 2 out of her 5 races, so didn't dominate these fields.
If we're keeping the price down, I'm probably going with the 1, the 2, and the 5. Are you feeling a 3-horse field with that?
Yeah, I even would leave off Mother Mother if we're trying to single in a little bit more. The reason why
Sure.
is because it was a pretty close finish. Mother Mother got beat 2 lengths by Royal Charlotte, and it was a little bit shorter distance. That one was a 6 furlong. This is 6.5 furlong. They have different running styles. Mother Mother likes to come as a closer, where
Yep.
Royal Charlotte is more of a stalker mid pack. She can kind of run wherever, depending on the pace. But the reason is, in that last race, both Royal Charlotte and Mother Mother went off at about the same price.
Yep.
So it wasn't like Mother Mother got beat or got upset by Royal Charlotte. I think Royal
Mhm.
Charlotte, I think she's simply just a better horse.
Her winning record concerns me a little bit. Only 3 wins and 13 tries, where the 1
Uh,
has a little bit more better winning percentage.
exactly. Yeah. And Mother Mother, she hasn't won a graded stakes ever. So that's why another reason why I would be comfortable leaving her off. Her only 2 stakes wins were in unlisted stakes. So that's why I think the 2 we could live without and try to either slim up the ticket or put some other horses in a different race, because I think it's going to be hard to beat Come Dancing if she's running her race. And
Yeah.
if she's not, I think the 1 is the clear next choice.
Well, if you're hurting from Belmont weekend on your betting, we'll keep it slim. We'll keep it with the 1 and the 5 on that. We'll keep it to 2 horses. All right, so we'll move on to the 8th race. We go up a grade to the New York States, grade 2, for fillies and mares, 4-year-olds and up. It is on the inner turf at 1.25 miles. Another 7-horse field, a little slim here. But I think another even field here. You have the number 1, Call Me Love, is a Great Britain horse. It is the morning line 9-5 favorite. Then drops a little bit to a 5-2 Mississippi and the 7-2 Mean Mary. So, and then it takes a little bit drop off there. So we have the 1, the 6, and the 7 as your 3 morning line favorites. The 1, Call Me Love, has been running mostly overseas. Came over here to Belmont early June and ran in a grade 3 and ran second. So a little bit of Lasix experience, stakes experience over here in the States. Do you 9-5? Are you buying the 9-5, Brent?
I'm not buying the price, but I'm definitely not leaving her off a multi-race wager.
Yeah.
I mean, I think that's an impressive race. Only losing 2 lengths in a grade 3 to Rushing Fall. Rushing Fall is not a grade 3 horse. She's one of the best turf horses, female turf horses in the world. So I don't think that's anything to be ashamed of. And she came going into Europe. She'd won her last 2 races. I mean, this is a horse I don't know if I would bet a win bet with her at 9 to
Mhm.
5, but if we're playing a pick 4, I'm
Can't
gonna
leave her off the
have her
ticket.
on the ticket.
Sure.
Does that make
And
sense?
the going down to the second favorite on the morning on the 6 Mississippi. Um, Clever name, by the way.
Yeah.
number one in your average speed. She pumps out triple-digit speed numbers. It seems like every time she's out, but has run in two back-to-back grade ones, and then when she was off the grade ones 3 races ago was a grade two, and she won it. So she's been running with crazy company. Do you like her? Are you putting her on this ticket?
I think I think I would like to. I remember that race in the Breeders' Cup, the filly and mare turf. I mean, she was running against the best of the best in that one, and I
Mhm.
was thinking about using her in my exacta for that one. I did hit that exacta with Iridescent and Vasilika. Those two horses are really good, and I ended up not using Mississippi on that field. It definitely paid off. She ran pretty much ninth out of 10
Yeah,
horses,
ninth out
so
of
did
10.
not
Yeah.
run well in her last race. But yeah, she is going down in class. I mean, she's her last race, just like we talked about with Come Dancing. She didn't run well in the Breeders' Cup, but that doesn't mean you're not a good horse. We'll get to
Right.
Owendale later. He didn't run well in the Breeders' Cup, but he's proven he's a good horse. He came back in his first race this year and already won. So I mean,
Does the layoff concern you?
the layoff does concern me, but I think against this quality field, it's not as concerning because I don't see any super horse that's going to be just hard to come back and beat off of a layoff.
So we kind of flip it to the 7 to a horse that's been tearing it up as far as finishes, but in lesser company. So the 7, Mean Mary, is coming off back to back to back wins, two of those being grade three once she was bumped up to stakes. So do you take the wins as they are and put her on, or do you think she's beating weak fields?
Well, she definitely has been beating not the highest quality of fields. None of the horses in these finishes really stand out to me as great horses. But she's done a great job this year. She's 2 for 2 this year, 3 straight wins going back to last year, and they were grade threes that she won. The one she drew away and won by 5 lengths. So I think she's in the best form probably out of any of these horses besides maybe the one.
So we covered the top three favorites on the morning line. The what they were the 1, the 6, and the 7. Between the 2 through 5, I am not seeing a whole lot that scares me. Are you seeing any of these? Maybe the 4 maybe is a little questionable. The 4 Fool's Gold, but I'm not seeing a lot of threats. You see any other
Yeah,
threats?
it's not really. I think those 3 the likely winners in that group for sure. I think the 4 is I like the 4 because it looks like the 4 can run from any spot on the field.
Mm-hmm.
She can run from the front or the back. She's proven that. But in her last race, or 2 races back, she got beat by 5 lengths to Mississippi, and
Mm-hmm.
Mississippi has come back. And Mississippi hasn't raced since then, but I think that I think it would be hard for her to come, even if she is close to the lead. The other 2 horses that like to be near the lead are the one Call Me Love
Yeah.
and the number 7 Mean Mary. So it's going to be hard to see her be able to kick away from those 2 at the end.
So we have Call Me Love, Mississippi, and Mean Mary. Are you shaving any of those, or are we keeping a 3 horse
Yeah, I'd
ticket right there?
I'd feel more comfortable keeping all 3 in this race.
I
These
completely
turf
understand.
races are always more scary to me than the dirt races. I just feel like I'm not as good a handicapper on the turf races, and it's because I'm not as familiar with a lot of the horses.
Sure.
But yeah, I don't think any of these stand above the other ones. I wouldn't be surprised if any of those 3 cross the wire first.
And we went cheap in the first one. We can afford 3 horses in the second leg.
Yeah, play it safe.
All right, to race 9, we have another grade 2. We have the True North Stakes, and it is for 4-year-olds and up, and it is back on the main track at 6.5 furlongs. This is the biggest field, only with one more horse. It is an 8-horse field. Let me see here. We have the
It's a fun field. This is the only out of the pick 4. This is the only, Colts and horses
mhm.
race. The only boy horses. So this is fun. I'm a lot more familiar with a lot of these horses. Diamond King, just the one. His last race was against Owendale in the Blame Stakes that we covered a few weeks back at Churchill. That was actually, I think, our first pod when we hit that Churchill pick 4.
Mhm.
So we familiar with Diamond King. He's a quality horse, and as same with Promises Fulfilled, we haven't covered him because he hasn't run this year, but he's one of the biggest name sprinters. And then
Yes.
Frenze Fire, he was in one of our recent pods whenever he ran in the Carter, the race that Vekoma won at
Hmm.
Belmont a few weeks back. So a familiar field for sure.
So it looks like from your top horses in this one, has run in great company, but doesn't exactly have all the wins. So how are you? Who are we taking in this one in this 8-horse field? I'm struggling a little bit
The
to.
first one that pops my eye that I really would like to use would be the number 8 Firenze Fire.
Hmm.
The reason being he does his best running at Belmont Park. 6 lifetime starts, 3 wins. He's won half of his races at Belmont Park, and some of those have been some pretty impressive victories. So that's the first one I'd like to use. The only concern is his last race was not good at all. I mean, he finished 4th, so not terrible, but Vekoma absolutely dominated that field. But Vekoma could be the top dirt sprinter in the country right now. He did look that impressive. He left that field behind. And so Firenze Fire did beat some other good horses in that race. Mind Control was in that field. And so it wasn't like he got completely toasted. If he can step it up a little bit, I think there's no Vekoma in this race that would be able to mow him down.
I'm really only seeing the 8 for sure. Um, Promises fulfilled. I feel like, do we have to put promises fulfilled on there?
I don't think you have to. It just depends on how you think the race is going to lay out. Of course, Promises Fulfilled likes to be on the lead. And if you think there's going to be enough other speed in the race that he's going to be tired out, then I don't think you have to put him on there. And I think there is a lot of speed in this race.
Yes.
I mean, Diamond King likes to be near the lead. Yorkton likes to be close to the lead.
We have one
Even
closer.
even Stan the Man, yeah. So I think that Firenze Fire being able to sit right off of those leaders is going to be in a great spot for this race.
Mm-hmm.
I
Looks
mean,
like. How do you feel about the 2 Midnight Charlie? Sat right off. Sat off the lead, went 6 wide on the turn, and ranked number 1 in closing speed. Long layoff. But that was on a 6 furlong race where ran second to Firenze Fire back in November. Thread it
yeah,
all, trying to
I
up your payout here.
it makes sense just running style wise, at
Mm-hmm.
least in that one, where Midnight Charlie did sit really far back and was able to come with a late bid, but still was 4 lengths behind Firenze Fire. Didn't really challenge at all.
Pretty good gap.
Yeah, I don't. I mean, this is a this is a. You're
This is a
right,
tough
right?
race.
Nobody else really is going to be coming from the back, and maybe that is all it takes. Is if it is that much speed, Midnight Charlie would definitely benefit whoever sits off and doesn't try to get in a speed duel, because Wicked Trick has done it both ways in his last two wins. I think we're going to throw out the stymie because
Sure.
he just didn't. I mean, he wasn't terribly far off, but it looks like he broke towards the back of the pack and just never made up ground. But in his 2
Mm-hmm.
races before then, even though it was an allowance and an unlisted stake, he came from 5th in the middle of the pack to win that one. And then the one before that, he was up on the lead most of the way and was able to carry it. He did get bet in that stymie, but if
He's
he's
taking
able to
quite a
sit off
jump.
this, he's got a chance. I think
uh,
the 2 and the 3 both at a price could hit this race. I think that it's going to be that hot contested on the lead. You know, Diamond King is going to want to be on the lead. You know that Yorkton's going to want to sit close,
yep.
and Promises Fulfilled. I think those 3, you at the very most you can only take one of those 3 front runners, whichever one you think is going to last the longest in this race.
Sure. So I think we'll circle back to this one and decide how many horses we want to use after we do the race 10. Sound all right?
That works.
All right. So we do go to the last leg, race 10, just a game stakes. This is the grade 1. It is for fillies and mares, 4-year-olds and up, 1 mile on turf. Is this a win and you're in for the Breeders' Cup, Brent?
It is, yeah. This is a big race, one of the best. Winner of this race will go to the Breeders' Cup Fillies and Mare Turf, and so this is a great race, and it's got 3 superstar horses.
It's a loaded field.
And the thing is, it's a win and you're in for the fillies and mares turf, but I don't know if the horses that win this one will want to run in the fillies and mare turf or just run in the Breeders' Cup Mile. Uni and Got Stormy, both in this race, raced against the boys in the Breeders' Cup and ran
Yes, he
1-2.
did. Yes. Yeah, those two, Uni and Got Stormy, and then the another horse we'll get to is one that we almost singled on one of our picks. Newspaper Record ran at Belmont in a pod that we covered. So the 6 Uni is going to be your heavy favorite, and for good reason. Ran in that Breeders' Cup Mile, hasn't run since then, but beat Got Stormy. Got Stormy run second, so I think those two are definitely locks to be on the ticket. Are we putting Newspaper of Record as our third horse on there?
Yeah, you have to use Newspaper of Record. I think the one that is questionable is Got Stormy, just because she's come back and run since then. And she did run well in December, got a win in a grade one. But in her 3 starts this year, only on the board in one of them, lost by a neck to River Boyne. So that's one that we
Losing a
can
little
talk
bit of
about.
form.
Yeah, and she lost to, in her last race, she talked to Call Me Love, who is the one in that sprint race.
Yep.
So she's been racing against some of these other horses this year, whereas Uni coming off of a long layoff, but you have to use her. She's one of the best turf horses in the world. I don't think look at her record.
Yeah, no
It's just
kidding.
incredible. But
So,
Newspaper of Record coming back, she's stretching out a little bit in distance. That's the concern with
yeah, a
her.
little bit, yep. Adding a furlong. So the 6 and the 4 definitely locks. Newspaper of Record and Uni. Questionable on Stormy. Can we survive this grade 1 with 2?
That is the question. I I don't know if there. I don't think there's another horse that I'm really worried about. I think Uni is just that. If Uni comes back running how she did in either 2018 or 2019,
Yeah.
it's not really going to matter. She was a Grade One winner in 2018. She was a multiple Grade One winner in 2019. And Newspaper of Record, her win was so impressive last out. I think one of those two is probably going to win this field.
I definitely agree with you. So we're gonna use 2 in that one, and we use 2 in the first one, and then we use 2 in the second leg. So we're gonna go
3 in the
back
second leg.
3 in the second leg. My bad. So
Yeah, but we do have most of the lower odd horses.
we
You
do.
know,
We
we
have quite
have
a few favorites.
we stretched out a little bit in the first leg with Royal Charlotte, who's 3.5. But I think the ninth race is the one you talk about to try to use a long shot. I think it makes sense. I think you want to use Frenzy Fire, but I think we can play a long shot or two in this eighth race and or in the ninth race and try to make this be the moneymaker race for us.
So if we use 4 horses, it will only be a $36 ticket. So is 4 a comfortable number here? We want to bump it up to 5, or keep it at 4?
I think we could probably make it work with 4. We can see who we like. Okay,
So
so
Frenzy
if
Fire
Frenzy
is a
Fire
lock.
is a must use,
Yes.
who's your second horse?
I'm gonna personally go with Diamond King on this one.
Diamond King.
Yep.
All right.
That is my second pick. Smoking workouts. I'm going to forgive that blame stakes that we covered with Owendale. It was
It
a
isn't.
blazing start.
It is important to note in that blame that Diamond King was on the lead.
Yep.
It is a mile. Now he's cutting back in distance, and both Owendale and Everfast, the horses that ran 1 and 2, came from way off the pace to win that one. So it was did not set up well for the horses on the lead.
No, and you see those.
I don't mind that pick one bit.
So well, that's 2. So that's 2 of the. We got 5-1 and the morning line favorite on there. So we'll add 2.
What about the 2 and the 3? I really like both of those at a
I
price.
do like Midnight Clarity. Let's put the one with the highest closing speed that we mentioned earlier. Might as well take a shot. Maybe she can come off the pace and surprise everybody. So we'll add the 2, Midnight Charlie.
Yeah.
And then the 3, that you were talking about.
Wicked Trick, I feel like, is just a versatile runner, and that may suit him well in this race with a bunch of speed.
So we'll use 4 there. So that is a $36 ticket. Should we go over what we used? We used in the first race, we used who did we use in that one? We used
The
Come
one,
Dancing.
Call Me Love, or no, the seventh race, right? Yes, we
Yeah,
used the
we went
one,
Royal Charlotte,
Royal Charlotte, and
the
then Come
5,
Dancing.
5 Come Dancing, and then the 8th race, we used Call Me Love. We used Mississippi, and we used
Mean Mary.
Mean Mary.
The 167. So we got
167.
1-5 in the first, 167 in the second.
And in the ninth that we just went over, we used the 1, 2, 3, and 8. And then the last race to close it up, we went with the studs. We went with the 4 Newspaper of Record and the 6-horse Uni. So let's get you a $36 ticket. Barring some crazy upsets, I think that sounds like a pretty good winner. That ninth race might shake it up a little bit.
Yeah, the ninth race, we leaving off Promises Fulfilled,
That's
going with
right.
some longer shots, and I'm actually confident with that. I think that I don't expect Promises Fulfilled to go off as the favorite post time.
No, no. All right, so that is Belmont's. It will go off at 4:30, which is very similar to our Churchill Downs pick 4 that we're going to put together. The late pick 4 starts at race 8 at 4:43, so very similar times. These are going to be going off the same. Make sure you get your bets in. It starts with the Bashford Manor Stakes. It is a grade 3 for 2-year-olds. We start out with 2-year-olds, a graded stakes, like you said, Brent, earlier before we started, before the Derby even happens.
Yeah, we've got we've got a 2-year-olds running in the graded stakes before we even hit the Kentucky Derby. So we're already looking ahead to these are possible Derby horses for
2021.
next year.
Yeah,
Yeah, I mean a
2021
long
horses.
ways to go to for even the winner of this race to still stay with the form, but they're getting them started early. And why not? We've got it. I mean, it's a grade 3. This is an important race.
Yep. 2-year-old, let's see. We have a 7-horse field here. Every single horse is 1 for 1, Brent. So
It throws your regular handicapping completely out the window. You
yep.
can't look at past performances very much at all. To me, I mean, what I look at is I look at the trainer, I look at the sire, who this horse's dad is, and then it doesn't hurt definitely to look at what kind of special weight pricing that they were running in and how
Yes.
much did they win by. But you don't know who they're running against. You don't know if how much they won by means anything at all. They could have been running against horses that will never win a race in their life. So
Sure.
it's really hard. You can't look at the past performances. You kind of just have to look at, the the. I guess you can look at the timing of the race.
Yes.
And I just like to look at people that have gotten horses to the Derby before and sires that have produced quality horses in the past.
So based on sire, I think the obvious lock here is the 6 Cazadero with the sire of Derby winning Street Sense. Won a 5-furlong race in his first out at Churchill Downs in 57 seconds, which isn't bad, but cleared the second place horse by 1/8 length. So the 6 Cazadero, definitely a lock here. And the rest, I don't even know. Brent, do you have who's number 2?
My second horse that I like, it's really close to me between the 4 and the 5. So I may
Okay.
let you pick between those two. I think Herd Immunity, it's a Union Rags who has produced a lot of really good horses. And then the other one, Hyper Focus, is a Constitution who's our Derby favorite this year.
Tis the law.
And 'Tis the Law is the Constitution.
Yep.
So I like Hyper Focus, and I like the fact that it's a Todd Pletcher. So I may be leaning Hyper Focus just slightly as my second choice.
Does going from 4.5 furlongs to 6 bother you at all, or is it it's just another sprint?
No, I mean, I think it's hard to say. All these horses are going to be going farther than this. I think it just has to do with the fact that Hyperfocus ran May 9th and Herd Immunity ran June 6th. And
Sure.
May 9th, these 2-year-olds, that's about as far as they can get them to go, is 4.5 furlongs. You're just trying to continue to slowly stretch them out as these. I mean, they're still babies.
Oh yeah, they are. I kind of like the 5. Likes to work out pretty quickly. Ran a 59 second 5 furlong for his win, which if you compare to that 6, the one that we picked first, it's 2 seconds slower. But I do like the 4 as well. Those,
Let's use them both. This is a 2-year-old.
yeah,
This is a 2-year-old race. I mean, let's not get beat on a
not in the
great
first
card.
leg.
On a great card, these other 3
Yes.
races are all very exciting races. Let's not get beat trying to pick between 2
Yeah,
of them.
not on the first one. I think maybe the only one to leave off is probably the one, which is a gelding 2-year-old, which is kind of rare, isn't it, Brent?
Yes, yeah, especially first time. Uh,
Yeah.
I mean, there may have been something that happened, but uh, yeah, I think if you use the 4, 5, and 6, I think those one of those 3 is the
Yeah.
clear winner. I don't really like the 2 or the 3 that much either. I think that but neither of them really are that impressive to me.
7's not spectacular either.
Yeah, I think that one of those 3 is your likely winner for sure in this one.
If you want to buff up your ticket a little more outside of ours and add a few more dollars so you don't lose on the
Yeah,
first
feel
leg,
free
feel
to do
free.
that.
Yeah,
But
this
I
that
I think that these 3 are the class of the field.
we have some good races coming up, so feel free to load up that one.
I mean, it those 3 just fit with what I look for in this. They all have trainers that have either won derbies or have gotten horses to derbies with Todd Pletcher, Peter Miller, and Asmussen, and great sires, Street Sense, Union Rags, and Constitution. I'm sold. They're both 2 for 2 on what I look for as a 2-year-old like that. When everybody's run one race and won their one race.
Mhm.
So those are the 3 that whenever I handicap a race like that, that's what I would do.
All right, moving on to the race 9. This is the one I like on the card. It is the Fleur-De-Lis Stakes. It is a grade 2 for fillies and mares, 4-year-olds and up, and it is a mile and eighth on dirt. So my first like Oaks and Derby, where I had an actual bankroll and was able to bet, where I wasn't just putting down $2 in a family pool, was that Oaks with Midnight Bisou and what's her name? Gosh, that won it.
Monomoy girl.
Monomoy Girl, thank you, the one I bet on.
Yeah.
So little nostalgia here with Midnight Bisou, who is going to be the heavy favorite in this one with competitor that you'll see on the headlines, Midnight Bisou versus Serengeti Express, a battle of
Empress.
some of the top females on dirt in the world. Who do you have in this 2-horse matchup, Brent?
Oh, I mean, there's no doubt that Midnight Bisou is the better horse, in my opinion. But I like Serengeti Empress because Serengeti Empress is one of the easier horses ever to handicap.
Yeah.
She's either going to get on the lead and probably win. If she doesn't get on the lead, and if she gets on the lead and still doesn't win, she just got beat by a beast of a horse.
Mm-hmm.
Or she's not going to get on the lead. Somebody else is going to beat her to the lead, and then she's not even going to run at all. She will give up on the backstretch.
So, do you forgive that Apple Blossom? Just we had another horse at Belmont that was in that one.
Yeah, come dancing.
Come Dancing,
There's
that's who
not
it
come
was.
dancing and is going back to a sprint. This race definitely not a sprint. It's a mile and an eighth, so even longer than that Apple Blossom, which is the one concern for Serengeti Empress. I think that I don't think she's a sprinter,
Mm-hmm.
but I think that a mile and a 16th may be her limit. Yeah, I mean, even the Oaks is the only question. The Oaks is a mile and an eighth, and she was able to win that one. Other than that, none of her wins have come at this distance. But there's no other speed in this race. Serengeti will get on the lead.
Yeah, that will be your
The
pace setter.
the one line you're gonna have to look at is going back to the Breeders' Cup Distaff. Both Midnight Bisou and Serengeti's Empress were in this race.
Mm-hmm.
Serengeti, you knew she was going to get on the lead, and you figured Midnight Bisou was going to come with a rally and beat her. She did just that. As Midnight Bisou was even money against the field. It was her in the field, even money. But the difference was Blue Prize
Yeah.
ran a super race and just made the first move against Serengeti's and was able to take over her. Midnight Bisou was never able to catch Blue Prize for that win. But that was still an impressive performance to me. It's crazy because some people think Midnight Bisou is the best dirt horse in the world right now.
Yes,
and she
she's
hasn't
ranked
won
number
either of her
1.
last 2 races.
Yeah,
but
hasn't even you won. Yeah.
but that Saudi Cup was the best horses in the world. She ran second to Maximum Security. She beat great horses like Tacitus, Mucho Gusto, ran against the boys, and beat them all besides Maximum Security.
So those two are in the middle of the pack. They're the 4 and the 5 horses. Is this a 2-horse race? Are we using any money on any of these other competitors?
No.
I
In
wouldn't
this
think so.
race, there's no question in my mind one of those 2 horses are going to. If you want to play a trifecta, I don't know if this is a great race to set up for a trifecta, but I like Chocolate Kisses probably as my 3rd favorite horse in this field.
Mm-hmm.
I think she ran well in her last race, losing
Lost to
just by a
Dunbar
little
Road.
bit to Dunbar Road. Nothing to be ashamed of, and she
Nope.
switched up her running style. Last year, she ran way off the pace. She was in that Kentucky Oaks, ran
Yes.
way off the pace, did not factor in, continued to run off the pace, did not really do much in lesser races last year, but come back and is set closer to the lead. And that's still another jump. I've talked about that before. Going from a 3-year-old to a 4-year-old, you can still make an improvement. So I
Yes.
think Chocolate Kisses is a horse that probably is going to make an improvement, but is not going to touch Serengeti or Midnight
No.
Bisou. She's
One.
probably, if we're playing a trifecta and you want to throw her in the 3rd spot and pick these 2, 1, 2,
Yeah, then
then
go
you could
for it.
probably have a good chance. But in a pick 4, the only question really, in my opinion, is do you single Midnight Bisou or do you also play Serengeti?
We'll play both.
Yeah, I think that's the right call. Just because of the pace setup, I don't think there's anyone that's going to challenge her. I mean, it's still more likely than not that Midnight Bisou runs Serengeti down in the stretch. But
Mm-hmm.
if you get a price at Serengeti, if she floats up to 3-1, 4-1, and all the money is on Midnight Bisou, she'll go off lower than 3-5. She'll probably go off at 2-5.
She's gonna get a lot of money.
Yeah, I mean, she is a super horse. Go back and watch that Saudi Cup race against the best horse in the world, in my opinion, Maximum Security, and she was close to running him down at the wire.
Yeah, no kidding. All right, so that was the girls' mile and eighth on dirt for the stakes, grade 2 of the day. Moving on to the boys for race 10. It is the Stephen Foster. It is a grade 2 for 4-year-olds and up. Bumping up to an 8-horse field in this one. Brent, I know this is a horse that you will be glued to. There are a lot of names in this one.
Oh my
I know
goodness,
you know this field.
this is I mean, this is such a hard race for me though, because these are the 3 favorites in this race are 3 of the horses I love to bet. I've made money off all 3 of the
All of
favorites in
them.
this race, and it's tough for me because I want to bet them all to win, but
Yes, you
it
do.
just doesn't make sense.
So I know it's a loaded field, and thankfully we're playing a multi-race. So give me all of your winners.
Okay, so the first one, we'll go just in order from numbers down. The 3
Mhm.
horses that are one of these 3 is going to win this race. If they don't, then maybe I should do
Yeah, do
something
something
else.
else.
But the number 5 is Tom's D'Etat.
Yep.
He is a older horse. He's 7 years old, which is crazy because most of the horses in this field are 4-year-olds. But he's an older horse who didn't really do anything until last year as a 6-year-old, came onto the scene and made a quick splash. He was running well. He was getting beat by some quality horses, lost to McKenzie, lost to Seeking the Soul, then started making a breakthrough as they turned for the summer. He won a grade 2 stakes at Keeneland, beat Mr. Freeze, who's a horse that a lot of people are familiar with.
Mm-hmm.
Then he came back at the Clark last year at Churchill Downs, running the same distance as he's going to be running this weekend
Yep.
in a grade 1, and was able to beat Mr. Freeze again and beat Owendale. That was a race I was in attendance for, and I had that exact at Tom's D'Etat Owendale because those are 2 of my
That boy.
favorite horses. And he came back and beat Improbable in a race where it looked like Improbable was going to run away with it. Improbable has since come back and won a graded stakes at Santa Anita. So Improbable is in good form, proving that Tom's D'Etat has kept his form
Yeah.
from last November. I mean,
Yep.
he's probably going to be a favorite, and it makes sense as to why. So he's
Definitely.
a great horse. The next one is By My Standards, another horse that I really love. By My Standards came out of nowhere last year to win the Louisiana Derby at 22-1, punched his ticket to the Kentucky Derby. Did not run well there. He didn't like the mud, and he broke poorly. it's a 20-horse field.
It's a
If
huge
you
field.
break
Yep.
poorly and you like to be close to the lead, he doesn't like to be on the lead, but he likes to be close to the lead. He got squeezed back. He didn't like the mud in his face. That's a complete throw out. He
Yep.
never had a chance. From within 10 seconds of the race starting, he was out of that one. Then comes back this year, so he sat out the whole rest of the 2019 season. Comes back in an allowance where he's clearly the best horse, wins going away. Then he comes back in the New Orleans Classic, and this race, there were three horses that took all the money in this race by my standards, and two other horses that are in this field, Fearless and Silver Dust, was able to beat both of those horses and the rest of the field pretty easily. Then comes back in a really loaded Oaklawn handicap. This Oaklawn handicap had Mr. Freeze in it, who is one of Tom's Day Tot. Tom's Day Tot battles against this horse all the time. Warrior's Charge, who ran a good race in last year's Preakness. Tacitus was in this field. A lot of good horses were in this Oaklawn handicap. And by my standards, he battled Warrior's Charge all the way down the stretch, ran a really good race. So he's coming with 3 straight wins this year, 4 or 5 out of 6 now, going back to last
throughout the
year.
Derby. I mean, that's
So by my standards, is a really fun horse, and I was able to capitalize on both his last 2 races, the New Orleans and the Oaklawn handicap. And then he's come back to the number 8, Owendale, another one of my favorites.
It is a closer. That was a crazy race that won us that pick 5.
He came out of the sky. In a 12-horse field, he was settled in 10th and 9th, and it looked like Everfast and Silver Dust were coming down the stretch, and Owendale was able to nab him at the wire. He does need a pace. He does like to sit deep. His only race where he was kind of close to the lead recently was the Breeders' Cup Classic, but he was running against better. He was still a 3-year-old. This is another horse that's going from 3 to 4. He looks like he's on the improve this year. And in his 2 races since the Breeders' Cup, in that Clark, he did the same thing. He was way out of it. He was never going to catch Tom's Day Tot that day, but he was able to nab Mr. Freeze for second right at the wire. And then he did the same thing in the Blame just a couple weeks ago.
Yep.
So out of the 3, well, tell me, what do you think out of those 3 first?
I'm for sure keeping Tom's Day Tot on there, and by my standards, I'm a little questionable with Owendale, just slightly. It seems like when he gets bumped up, his performance slacks. So
I agree
if you
with
start
that.
all the way back to April, grade 3 win, grade 1 loss, grade 3 win, grade 1 loss, grade 3 win, grade 1 loss. It literally alternates. He goes easy, hard, and he loses every grade 1 that he starts in.
Yeah, I think that's a fair observation. The thing is, I think his running style, it's just going to be hard for him to make up enough ground.
I'm not leaving him off at all, but that would be the only one I would have concern just slightly.
Yeah, I think it's just going to be hard for him to make up enough ground against Tom's Day Tot. If you go back and watch a replay, watch that Clark. It's on this track, on Churchill Downs track, at the same distance, just last November. Tom's Day Tot does a great job maneuvering away from the field, pulling away. Owendale just goes from dead last. He was 11th the whole way around the track in an 11th race field. Comes back, is able to get second, but still a good distance behind Tom's Day Tot. The question, though, is, did Owendale improve enough? Because if he's the same horse he was as a 3-year-old, like you said, win the grade 3, loses at higher races, then he won't win this race. But he is a horse that a 4-year-old, and a lot of horses make that jump at going into their 4-year-old season. Owendale could be one. He definitely showed it in that Blame Stakes. And the Blame was only a mile. He likes the extra distance for sure.
I know we've been playing a lot of favorites all the way back to Belmont. We're playing the top 3 here. I know it's a good grade 2, but I just don't see a lot to play outside of those 3 horses. Do you see any value, not necessarily for exactas, but for playing this pick 4 here? I don't see.
Yeah, for playing a multi-race wager, no. I am probably going to play a trifecta in this race as well. The trifecta that at least I'd like to build is going to have Tom's Day Tot and By My Standards in the first and second spot. And then in the third spot, it's going to have Owendale, the number 1 Fearless, who's another closer, got beat pretty handily by My Standards a couple races back, but that was his first stakes race. Coming back into stakes company, he's done really well outside of stakes company. So I would like to use the 1 Fearless and the number 7 Silver Dust. He didn't get beat by much to Owendale in that Blame Stakes. If the pace is a little bit slower and the closers aren't able to close, Silver Dust could hang on for third place. So those are the two that I think could hang on and maybe hit a exacta, trifecta, superfecta,
Sure.
the 1 and the 7. But playing to win, it's going to be one of these three because these three are three of the top 10 older dirt horses in the world.
I think we have two. I was just looking. We have two Tappet horses in here. The 7 and the 3. Just a fun fact. Just something I was looking at.
And you'll be able to recognize them pretty easily whenever they get on the track. They'll be the two gray horses.
All right. So we dropped down a little bit for the last leg for race 11. It is the Regret Stakes. It is for 3-year-old fillies, and it switches to turf for a distance of 1 mile and 1/8. Big field here. It bumps up all the way to 13 horses. So this is where your money's going to be made. That will pay board at least has quite a few options on it going into this race. Phillies on turf is not exactly something that I follow very often. And if you look at the morning line odds, the highest horse is 3-1. So this is a really open
Oh yeah,
race, Brent. There's going to be some decent will pay numbers in this one.
yeah. This is definitely a wide open race, and this is the hardest one to call.
By
3-year-olds
far.
on turf. I think
a lock is the number 5, Crystal Cliffs, for sure. Came over to the States and here at Churchill and won in May.
yeah. The only question is just who is she raced against?
Race against how do you pronounce that? Witez or Whitez? I don't even
Yeah,
know what number that is, but ran somebody, at least beat somebody in this field. Has something to run on there.
yeah.
Ran
It was just an allowance though, and her other win just a maiden. So she's never run in stakes company, but definitely one I don't want to leave off because she may just be better than the field.
Yeah, this is gonna be a tough one to break
The
to
other
pick
one, the
on.
one that I like, the one that caught my eye first, would be the number 1, Dominga, just
Okay.
because she's raced against some quality horses. Losing to Alms and to Sharing, there's nothing wrong with that. Those
Nope.
two are the two top 3-year-old turf horses, filly turf horses, in my opinion. And because I think we had Sharing, didn't we, a couple weeks ago
I think
in
we
that?
did, yeah.
Yeah, and Sharing came back and ran really well. So, um, or was that when we had her in the
I
Tepin? I think the Tepin was what we played, wasn't it?
yeah, it was.
Yeah,
Yeah,
the
we played
Tepin's
that
what we
race. The
played.
Tepin.
So I think that the Dominga, I think that she didn't run well last time, but she only lost by 3 lengths, so it wasn't way out of it.
Nope.
I
And
think
another
that's a
horse that was
horse.
in that race was the 12 past the plate.
Yeah, and
Finished third in that one.
yeah, and past the plate, and Domingo ran second and third to Alms back in February. So those are two horses that are right there too that I think are pretty quality horses.
I think
Just
the
haven't
1,
been
the
able to
12, and the
win.
5, I think are pretty solid for this one so far. In a race that we just have to load up.
Yeah,
I kind of like the 6. That was a pretty quick mile and 16th down at Gulfstream. I guess Michelin is how you're gonna pronounce that one.
yeah,
Um, beat Highland Glory and then Stunning Sky. I don't know what number program that one is. But
yeah.
has tried Stakes Company out at
Highland
least.
Glory is a pretty quality horse as well.
Great closing speed. Came off the pace in that one. Like to see it in a little longer race.
What do you think about the 10 horse? The 10 horse Harvey's Little Goyal. That was one of the names that I recognized right away, and I realized why I knew that is because
American
she ran in
Pharoah.
the fantasy. Yeah, and she ran in the fantasy, who, which is an Oaks points
Oh
race.
yeah, that's right. We just covered Swiss Skydiver.
Yeah, she's been running on dirt. She
Mm-hmm.
tried to run a maiden on turf, struggled, ran on dirt, won, ran on dirt again, won, then tried to get up to Stakes Company, graded Stakes Company on dirt, struggled, so now they're switching her back to turf. And American Pharoah has produced some good turf horses, oddly enough.
Oddly, yeah, oddly.
So I don't know. They wanted to run her on turf initially, and it didn't work out. But it was just her very first race of her career. So
I think it's a play.
it's an interesting play for sure.
I mean, just trying to find if I see any quality, we're throwing it on this race.
And it's Bill Mott. It's a good trainer. It's an American sire. She's American Pharoah sired, and her mother's sire was Tappet. So good bloodlines there.
Yeah, definitely good bloodlines in that one. Uh, so we've used what, 4 horses now? The 1, the 12. I like the 5
The 1,
Crystal Cliffs.
5,
12,
10, 12.
10, 12. So we've used 4 so far. A 13 horse field. I would hate to get this
What do you think
far.
about the 6? You said you were talking about the 6. You want to
Yeah, I
use
was
her
talking
as
about the
well?
6 just because of last out. The previous races, not so much there,
Yeah, but
but
I
that
mean,
last out was pretty solid.
yeah, I think that might as well. I mean, she's
I think it
definitely still on
warrants
the improve.
warrants a threat for this one. So that's 5 horses. That is, I don't see a ton more in this one. Do you see any value? Do you like? No, the 13's undefeated, but really slow and was only in
Never run
maiden
against
allowance
stakes.
company. Yeah.
Yeah,
Um,
I think the 13 is going to be, she's going to be in over her head.
yeah. So I think we picked a fairly good field there out of what we were given to round out our pick 4. Are you all right with those 5 horses?
Yeah, I think that's like to play it safe in a race like this.
If we get
And
upset in that, that's you're just gonna have to eat it. I mean, we did
yeah,
the best we could with this field. So Brent, let's go back to the top. You can help me out on this one.
sure.
To the first leg, we
First,
used.
first leg is our grade 3 for our 2-year-olds.
Yep,
Bashford Manor. We like the 4, 5, and 6.
we used 4 hyper focused, 5 herd immunity, and the 6 Cazadero. So that is 3 horses in that one, and in the 9th race, which was the big girl stakes, we used Serengeti Express and Midnight Bisou. If
Yep.
anybody beats them, well, good for them. That will be quite the upset.
Yes.
And then on to the boys, the race that was loaded. Brent, we used Tom's Day Tot, the 5. We used By My Standards, the 6. And we used Owendale, the 8. Was that the only 3 we used?
Yeah, those are the 3 that we won in that race
Same with
for
the
sure.
girls. If any of those don't win, another upset there.
Those 3, just like Serengeti and Midnight Bisou, those are grade 1 horses. The rest of the field is not that class. And the same thing here. But I wouldn't be surprised to see all 3 of those horses, by my standards, Tom's Day Tot and Owendale, win a grade 1 by the time this year's over.
Right.
I can't say the same with any of these other horses. These other horses are grade 3 horses at best, in my opinion.
And then in the last race, we used 5 horses. So we used the 1 Dominga, the 5 Crystal Cliffs, the 6 Michelin. We used the 10 Harvey's little Goyal, and we used the 12 Past the Plate. Am I right on that
That's
field
right.
there?
Mm-hmm.
That is a
It's a little fatter ticket.
little fatter, but still only $45. You split that $22.50 with a friend. That's not going to be bad. And if one of these longer shots come in this last Phillies race, you will have a pretty good split there with your friend. So I think that's a pretty solid ticket we put together for that Churchill one. I like the Churchill one better than the Belmont, but definitely some talent to watch there in the Belmont in that first pick 4 we put together.
Yeah, I like both of them a lot. I think they both have great fields. I do like the Churchill one better just because of those 2 middle races. Or those 2 dirt
Definitely.
races are going to be so much fun. Midnight Bisou and Serengeti Empress are 2 great horses with very contrasting styles, so that'll be interesting. And the same way with that next race, Tom's Day Tot will be the closest, or by my standards, will be the closest to the lead. He'll be sitting just off of the number 2 Pirates Punch and the number 7 Silver Dust. And then Tom's Day Tot will be sitting in the middle of the pack, and Owendale will be coming at the end. And down the stretch,
Flying down.
you could see by my standards will pass up those first 2, and then Tom's Day Tot will come and he'll try to pass up by my standards, and then Owendale will come late on the scene.
Yep.
So that's going to be a great race. Those 2 races are definitely the 2 you want to watch this weekend. The 9th and 10th race at Churchill Downs.
So we had a pretty fun Belmont day last weekend. In a times where sports are limited and baseball just figured things out, basketball is still working on it. We don't know about football quite yet, but horse racing is staying consistent. We have a little bit to go until the Kentucky Derby. We do lose Churchill Downs in our rotation after this week, but we still will have some other big tracks available to pick on. Brent, I think we have two winners here, and these will start around 4:30 Eastern time on Saturday. So get these picks in; they come fast. So follow us at Picks FT Sticks on Twitter. We will keep up with these and post these tickets. Brent, I have confidence.
Yeah, I'm really excited. I mean, last weekend really kicked off the great horse racing from now until Breeders' Cup with the
Mhm.
Belmont Stakes. Tiz the Law showed up just like we hoped he would, proved himself as the Kentucky Derby favorite, and now we're going to see some older horses this weekend,
Yep.
led by Midnight Bisou and Tom's Day Totten, Newspaper of Record, and Uni. So great horses are running at both Belmont and Churchill Downs this weekend. It's going to be fun.
Yes, they are. Well, Brent, it was good to talk to you, and hopefully we hit again, make some more dollars.
Can't wait, dude.
See ya.
Bye.